Frozen Orb has been used as a support skill in Lightning Spear builds, but with this build, we are reversing it and using Lightning Spear as a support skill for our Frozen Orb. Welcome to the Maxroll channel. I'm your host, pandaglassjaw. This is my Mythic Frozen Orb guide for Sorcerer and Diablo boards, Season 6. The cornerstone of the Frozen Orb build is Fractured Winterglass. This unique amulet will give your Frozen Orb cast a chance to summon a random conjuration when they explode. It'll also give your conjurations a lucky hit chance to summon a Frozen Orb. It provides more than average ranks to your conjuration mastery, and reduces the cooldown of your conjurations when a Frozen Orb explodes. This allows us to easily stack our conjurations and gain a large amount of damage for your Frozen Orbs, thanks to having so many ranks of conjuration mastery. The primary offensive aspect to help this work is Frozen Orbit. It increases your Frozen Orb's damage and adds additional explosions to help reset your conjurations faster. Your other offensive aspects are Storm Spell, which provides 35% additional damage while Ice Armor is active, along with an additional 15% damage against frozen enemies. Shredding Blades will give another 35% damage increase against vulnerable enemies. For your defensive aspects, you have Concentration. This will provide damage reduction after casting a conjuration. For your other uniques, you have Tal Rasha's Iridescent Loop. This provides up to 25% additional damage for each different elemental skill you cast, stacking up to 75%. All stacks will remain as long as you rotate between two different elements within 5 seconds. It also provides cooldown reduction. Rakanoth's Wake will give you more cooldown reduction, along with extra non-physical damage for your Enlightenment. Starlit Skies is a mythic ring. It will provide 10% additional damage and resource cost reduction every time you cast a skill that costs resource, stacking up to 5 times. It will also provide a large amount of attack speed and critical strike chance, along with extra core skills ranks. Air of Perdition is a mythic helmet. It will provide 60% additional damage, along with a massive increase to your critical strike chance and core skill ranks. Teriel's Might is a mythic chest. It will provide damage reduction, along with an increase to the maximum amount of resistances you can have. This maximum resist increase is a massive defense increase. For your enchantments, you take Frozen Orb Enchantment. Gain a chance for extra Frozen Orbs to launch with any of your skill casts. Ice Blades is your second enchantment. This will provide additional conjuration mastery stacks, along with some cooldown reduction thanks to summoned Ice Blades. For your skills, you must put 2 points into basic skills. You can grab Firebolt, but it doesn't matter. You max your Frozen Orb ranks and grab Greater Frozen Orb. You take 3 defensive skills. Flame Shield will provide a few seconds of immunity, which prevents all damage and also makes you unstoppable to break crowd control. Be sure to use Flame Shield at the start of combat for your Tal Rasha stack, and anytime the stacks fall off. Teleport is a mobility skill that will also give damage reduction with Shimmering Teleport, and makes you unstoppable as well. Ice Armor is a large barrier that increases your mana regeneration and has its cooldown reduced as you spend more mana. Lightning Spear is our primary rotation with Frozen Orb for Tal Rasha and Enlightenment. Invoked Lightning Spear will lock down enemies sometimes before you even see them. Unstable Currents will provide some pre-shock skills from our Lightning Spears, but is mainly just used for additional attack speed. You can use this whenever it's available. You take Summoned Ice Blades even though this skill isn't on your bar. Your Ice Blades will be summoned by Frozen Orb and your enchantment. Protection is a passive skill that grants a barrier for each skill you cast with a cooldown, and it lasts a few seconds. This will provide a lot of defense, thanks to how fast our Lightning Spear resets. Enlightenment is your key passive. This requires you to rotate different elements to quickly stack up to 100 for a buff called Enlighten. Enlighten gives increased damage by stacking your lightning, fire, and cold elemental additive damages with each other. It also increases your mana regeneration and attack speed, along with an additional 25% damage multiplier. While Enlightened, your stacks will deplete, and you can't gain additional stacks until reaching 0, and then you will need to start your rotation again. For your Paragon, you'll begin with Destruction in your starting board for 2% increased damage against enemies after critically striking them, stacking up to 12%, along with the critical strike damage legendary multiplier. Your first board will be Frigid Fate. The legendary node increases your damage against vulnerable enemies by 60%. Unleash will be your glyph for 8% extra damage and 25% extra mana regeneration after spending mana, along with the flat damage legendary multiplier. Your next board is Fundamental Release. The legendary node increases your damage done by 10% for burning, applying vulnerable, or critically striking an enemy, stacking up to 30%. Tactician will be your glyph for an extra 10% damage after using a defensive skill, along with a flat damage legendary multiplier. Your next board is Enchantment Master. The legendary node gives you a minor damage increase by improving your enchantments by 20%. Elementalist will be your glyph and increases your damage by 5% for each elemental damage you deal to an enemy, stacking up to 15%, along with a non-physical damage legendary multiplier. Enchantment Master will provide a large amount of non-physical damage for our Enlightenment key passive. Your final board is Ice Ball. The legendary node increases your damage against vulnerable enemies by 25%, which doubles against frozen enemies. This includes staggered bosses. Flame Beater will be your glyph for 10% extra damage against burning enemies, along with a flat damage legendary multiplier.
Yes.